And in Wisconsin, our newest live trial is underway for defendant Kevin Sehmer. Prosecutors say the then 64-year-old knocked a complete stranger unconscious because he allegedly didn't like his tattoos. Josh Davies would later die from his injuries, but Sehmer says Davies attacked him and denies ever punching him in the face. Before we get you back into court, there's more on the case against Kevin Sehmer.
There was nothing provoked in this. He was simply on a double date night with his wife, minding his own business, when somebody decided that they didn't like the way he looked.
39-year-old Joshua Davies was on a date with his wife at Tabby's Lake Country Wine Bar when Kevin Sehmer confronted Davies about his tattoos.
He made a comment about those tattoos and something to the effect of that it was a sin and they would go to hell.
Court documents say Davies and his wife attempted to leave to ease the situation, but Sehmer followed them outside the bar.
Mr. Sehmer struck the victim in the head with such force that he immediately lost consciousness, fell to the ground, and struck his head further.
Officers found Davies on the sidewalk going in and out of consciousness and was rushed to the hospital. 27 days later, Davies died as a result of the injuries.
We are grateful that the gentleman that made bad choices and took a life that should never have been taken, is in custody.
Sehmer was initially charged with aggravated battery, but now faces a felony murder charge. Sehmer claims he lost his cool after Davies made comments directed at him. Once outside, Sehmer said he pushed Davies but wasn't trying to kill the guy. He says he only pushed him because Davies provoked him by raising a stool at him.
This should have never happened. This man needs to pay at the fullest extent of the law.
The trial kicked off yesterday with opening statements where the state told the jury they would hear from eyewitnesses who would testify that Sehmer was the aggressor and that as a result, Josh Davies died. Let's take a listen.
This is a one-charge felony murder. And as the court just told you, I must prove those charges to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And just essentially what that all means is that this defendant, Kevin Sehmer, committed the crime of aggravated battery against the victim, in this case, Josh Davies, simply meaning he caused great bodily harm to Josh Davies. And as a result of that aggravated battery, as a result of causing him great bodily harm, Josh Davies died. That's essentially what this case is about. And it's really about what happened to Josh Davies that night. And the state believes that the evidence will show that the second Kevin Sehmer, this defendant, saw Josh Davies, he had it out for him. Kevin Sehmer was aggressive, both verbally and physically, for the very short time that Josh and Kevin were in contact with each other this night. And we believe that the evidence will show that this defendant punches Josh in the head, causing Josh to drop to the ground, hit his head on the concrete again, which ultimately led to Josh's death. Josh Davies was surrounded by two different people: his wife, Jen Davies, who will testify, and his friend, Brian Richardson, who will also testify. Jen, Laura, Josh, and Brian, those four, decide to go to Tabby's Wine Bar. And Tabby's Wine Bar actually has video surveillance inside that is both audio and sound. And you will see on this video surveillance Kevin Sehmer at the end of this bar, and you will see Jen and Laura walk in first from the back, and then you will see Josh, the victim in this case, and his friend Brian walk in from the back. And they walk all the way across, and you will see on the video that they end up meeting at the end of the bar with Kevin. So now it's these five together in Tabby's Wine Bar. What you'll also see in that video and what you'll hear from the witnesses is that almost immediately this defendant sees Josh and starts making comments about Josh and his tattoos, marking up God's work. And Jen and Brian, they'll tell you, and Laura will tell you, they've never met Kevin before. They don't know why he's going in on Josh and tattoos, and they'll kind of tell you they thought maybe Kevin was just joking. They didn't think much of it. And you'll see after this initial interaction on that Tabby's Wine video between Josh and Kevin, Josh separates himself. Josh goes to a different side, separates himself from Kevin. Kevin continues to be aggressive with Josh. You'll hear on the Tabby's Wine video him say F you to Josh. go out there and practice falling down, saying that's Josh. And I want you to listen to Kevin's tone, Mr. Sehmer's tone when he does that. It's not a joking tone. You'll see his demeanor. You'll see him be aggressive with pointing. You'll see this on the video. And even during this second interaction between Josh and Mr. Sehmer, you will then see Kevin walk over to Josh, get in Josh's face, say, "Shut your effing mouth," pointing in Josh's face. Josh stands there. Josh doesn't, you're not gonna see Josh make any aggressive moves toward Kevin in this Tabby's wine video. Now, after Mr. Sehmer gets in Josh's face that second time, you'll see on the video, you're gonna hear from Jen Davies, hear from Brian, hear from Laura, that basically Jen kind of has Josh and Brian leave the bar. It's towards the end of the night anyway. She kind of has them go outside. So yet again, you'll see Josh separate himself from Mr. Sehmer. Now, on the video, you'll see Jen and Laura, they're gonna remain inside with Mr. Sehmer for a little bit. And eventually you'll see Josh Davies on this Tabby's Wine video again, standing at the door. Doesn't go past the front door, doesn't come back into the bar necessarily. And he makes a comment to his wife, Jen, "Are you still talking to that a-hole?" And this is when this whole incident really starts to happen. Like I said, in this video, you're not gonna see Josh go beyond that front door. You're not gonna see Josh come at Mr. Sehmer. You're not gonna see that. You're gonna see Kevin rush out directly towards Josh from the wine bar. You're gonna hear from Jen and Laura. You're gonna see on the video that Kevin pushes past Jen and Laura to try to get to Josh. You'll even see Laura try to grab Mr. Sehmer's shirt to keep him back from going outside. You'll see Jen standing at the door, that front door to Tabby's Wine Bar, to try to keep the two separated. And once Kevin goes outside, everything happens very quickly. There's some things that the evidence won't show because there's certain things that the state doesn't have to prove. And one of the biggest things is exactly why Mr. Sehmer did this to Mr. Davies. The state doesn't have to prove why Mr. Sehmer committed this crime against Josh. Doesn't have to prove what his motive was. We just have to prove that he committed an aggravated battery against Josh Davies, and that led to Josh Davies' death. Why Kevin got so mad at Josh from the beginning, that might not be an answer that we have. But I also want you to remember, that's not necessary to finding out if the defendant committed this aggravated battery, which resulted in Josh's death. What the state believes that this evidence will show through the witnesses, through the videos that you're gonna see, is that this defendant violently attacked Josh Davies that night, hit Josh, causing Josh to drop to the ground, hit his head on the concrete, and ultimately led to his death.
That state paints the picture of the defendant as a bully, resulting in, the state alleges, the murder, and a victim who seemingly tried to walk away when he first went inside that bar. All right, up next, let's hear the other side of the story because the defense's opening statement is next.
Biggest moments in the wife stabs husband murder trial. Plus, a voice for victims in the tragic story of a 6-year-old's death and a father now facing sentencing.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, reaction to the verdict in the Black Swan murder trial. Our experts weigh in on the jury's decision and what's next for Ashley Benefield.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
We are bringing you the tattoo punch murder trial out of Wisconsin this afternoon. Defendant Kevin Sehmer is charged with felony murder in the death of 39-year-old Josh Davies. Court documents reveal that the two got into a fight at a wine bar after the defendant allegedly made a comment about Davies' tattoos being a sin. Several weeks later, Davies succumbed to his injuries. Yesterday, the defense delivered their opening statement claiming Sehmer was actually defending himself because he believed that Davies and another bar patron were poised to attack him with their bar stools. Take a listen.
This case is about somebody trying to hit my client with a stool. And my client stopping this person from doing so by stopping the momentum of the stool as it came rushing towards him as a result of Mr. Davies' actions. Now, it is true that my client and Mr. Davies got into a stupid argument that was mostly, quite frankly, my client's fault. I mean, it was stupid. At some point, my client goes and pokes his finger at him, calls him a name, and at some point, his wife, Jen Davies, suggests and kind of tells Josh and his friend to leave. Not suggesting that she did that because she was thinking that her husband had done anything wrong. She just thought, let's separate us. But this argument ended then, okay? That it was over. What you're going to see is that not only was it over, but my client was actually talking with Mrs. Davies and with Laura Burke, and they were having a very friendly, quite frankly, discussion. Such though that at some point my client appears to be kind of hugging both Ms. Burke and Ms. Davies. On the left is Ms. Davies. On the right is Ms. Burke, the two women that my client's the big guy behind them, and he's talking to those two. Okay?
I've known Johnny forever. 20 years. 20 years. Yeah, it's been a lot. I like John. Maybe you're taking it. Maybe today's not.
I'm serving on.
Maybe she's at
Don't take it. What did you say?
We just saw in that upper left corner, that was Mr. Davies. He came back in. This argument was over. In fact, you just saw, and the evidence will show, that my client was kind of hugging Ms. Davies and Ms. Burke. And Josh came in and yelled some profanities because he appears to be angry that his wife is still talking to Mr. Sehmer. That's Mr. Davies. See him backing up, okay? And it probably would have been a little harder, but you could have also been able to see Mr. Sehmer, a larger person with a white light shirt, moving. Now look, stop. Did you see? Obviously, it happened kind of fast. I won't back it up. But what you saw, and when you see it again, in various configurations, by the use of law enforcement and the state crime lab and trying to make this, you're going to see one thing that's clear in every single one, that as my client and Mr. Sehmer are both moving from right to left, Mr. Davies launches himself at Mr. Sehmer. And remember, his wife has told law enforcement, and Ms. Burke told law enforcement, that he had a stool above his head to attack my client. The only violent act that was shown, that will ever be shown to you in any of the videos, is not my client going after Mr. Davies, but Mr. Davies lunging with a chair in his hand at my client, and that he then goes down. So this person who tried to attack somebody may have fallen over a stool and was also very, very drunk, fell to the ground, not because of a battery, but because he tried to attack my client. And my client may have been acting like a jerk, but you can't attack a person with a stool. My client, as does every person, has a right to defend themselves from an unlawful interference. Sometimes that might be kind of vague in terms of, well, what interference are we talking about? That's not really a circumstance that we have to concern ourselves too much here. Because the interference is, you don't get to hit me with a stool, a metal stool, by the way. You don't get to do that. I don't have to take it in the face because I said I was mean to you earlier in the night. You have a right to prevent that. And you have a right to put up your hand and stop yourself from being struck. Not only does the state have to establish that there was this battery, but that my client didn't do so, exercising his right of lawful self-defense. In other words, they have to prove that he didn't have the right to do that beyond a reasonable doubt. And we don't get, and you don't get to, when you're examining the evidence, think, well, how would I have reacted today? No, it's at the time of the event, that's when you look. Was he acting reasonably in stopping this person from hitting him with a stool? I would say at any time anybody can do that, but the government has to disprove this.
The defense really leaning into that video and saying, sure, our client pokes his finger, calls him names, but then the argument was over and he was then being attacked, allegedly, by someone with a bar stool. That someone is the victim in this case. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will go back inside court. Back now to the tattoo punch murder trial of defendant Kevin Sehmer. He is accused of punching 39-year-old Josh Davies because he didn't like his tattoos. Davies then died from his injuries 27 days later. Sehmer told the police at the scene that he was protecting himself. He has pled not guilty to felony murder. Now, before we get you back into court, look at this. I have some experts with me today that I neglected to bring in. Trial and family law attorney Michelle Thomas, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Josh, I know you well enough. You're probably over there snickering like, what did she do? But after listening to the state portion of the opening and the defense portion of the opening, I think each respective side has really painted two different pictures. You really believe that the defendant's the bully, the aggressor, and he murdered the victim after listening to the state. But then, Josh, after I listened to the defense, I thought, well, yeah, he admits he was poking his finger and cussing and doing things he shouldn't have. But then he says that victim and a friend were going to use their stools to get to him first.
Yeah, I'm really waiting. This, to me, we talk about how juries give permission for arguments to be made, and permissions once something has been established to then bring up something new. And that's what I think the defense really did in response to a good, strong state opening, because you're right. The state really brought the thunder and told him, this is the bad guy. This is what happened. He acted wrongfully and a person is dead. That's straightforward. Convict him. It's murder. The defense now gets to sit back. They didn't overplay their hand, and they're going to wait and see what permissions the state brings out during their presentation of the case in order to gauge how aggressive they're going to go with the defense of self-defense justification, because no person should sit there while they are being abused by someone, especially someone that's making plans to attack them with a potentially deadly weapon.
Yeah, good point. That bar stool, I thought it was a good argument by the defense during their opening. This is what the evidence is going to show, according to the defense. Michelle, tell us your thoughts and where you sit after hearing from both sides before we get into the evidence.
Sure. Good afternoon to you both. I agree with both you, Judge Ashley, and Josh, that the state presented a compelling opening statement. When they concluded, I thought, wow, you know, this person really was the aggressor and it was not justifiable or self-defense. However, when the defense concluded or got into their opening statement, I think it shows what they're trying to argue is that the initial aggression or initial dispute had concluded, that the defendant communicated to the now victim that it was over, he was done with it, he was laughing and joking with his wife and the other woman, the other wife there, and that everything was fine. And then the victim became the initial aggressor. So that's going to be what's interesting, is whether the jury believes that that initial conflict was completely resolved and that the victim became the initial aggressor, which then enables the self-defense argument. And so that certainly began to cast doubt in terms of how strong the state's case is going to be because of that component.
Yeah, you're right. And we saw in that video a number of people were there. So we know we're going to hear from some of those people.